Okay, so Kate and Rachel, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm so excited to speak with you guys. I watched Posies
Oh,
thrice.
yay.
I watched it thrice, so I'm pretty excited to ask you guys some questions. Um,
Awesome.
First of all, this movie is a pretty heavy metaphor. Um, so I want to know, was this something that was initially conceived during the last presidential term? I'm trying to figure out how I can word
Yes,
that.
I mean, it wasn't everything. Yeah, so obviously in the last what 5-ish years now, we've seen some pretty dark things society-wise that have always been there, really, but coming to the surface, people being more open about their dark feelings. Um, and it was really bothersome for me, and I'm sure so many other people. It was upsetting, and I kind of wanted to tell a story that was a more intimate look in a more monster kind of way of that idea of these things rotting from the inside and then coming to making their way to the surface.
So then, Rachel, you wrote, but the two of you co-directed, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So did you guys decide, did you guys know initially the lens that you guys were going to view this through? Did you always know from the jump that it was going to be based on this singular character? Or did you guys start with the concept of the de-evolution and the flowers before you found the main character?
I would say it was that. Yeah, I wanted to tell that kind of story. And like when you write, I don't know, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, it's like I have this weird idea. Like for me, it was just posies. Just the concept of that, just posies. Something's going on with this word. Something's going on, and I just sit in it for days and days, and then suddenly it comes, and you're like, oh, okay, it's going to be this, and now what? And then more and more and more. So I think it was the concept first, for sure, for me.
Yeah, and that idea, the thing that really kind of stuck out from the beginning was this idea of placing flower petals underneath your skin to kind of hide the stench of the decay. Um, and which obviously goes back, to the 1600s in terms of the Black Plague and everything like that, when people carried around satchels of flower petals to hide the way they smelled because of the plague.
Or other people's smells.
Or other people's smells. Yeah, exactly. Witch doctors and all that, of course. Which is also where, Bring Around Rosie, or Rosie's come from, by Paul Posies, that song. So there was something about that really kind of caught our attention, and Rachel just ran with it in a way that I think was really beautiful in terms of, like you say, like kind of the metaphor of it, and taking place now in this world that we created, which is both kind of old and new at the same time, and definitely New Orleans, but like old New Orleans and new New Orleans just mixed into one kind of weird, fantastical space.
So that is amazing. I love how you put that. I love how you worded it, and that was a fantastic answer. So thanks for that. I'm gonna kind of launch pad off of that and ask you guys if you initially knew that you would have a minimalist cast for this. Was it written with a minimalist cast? Because I mean, there's really only two focal characters, but there is also, several others in the background on the news to kind of set the stage. So did you always plan, once you knew that, kind of had an idea of the characters, did you always plan to have it so minimalist, or was that something that revolved around COVID and kind of made it easier to film?
Well, actually, we got lucky and filmed this right before that happened. December, cold times in New Orleans. But yeah, I think originally for me, we've seen it on such a grand scale, really, this de-evolution of people in general. I wanted to tell a story that was really, really intimate. And, it's this one person's dealings with this as it happens. So I think, for me at least, I always wanted it to be really tiny, 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 very personal, I guess.
So then, with the song that was used at the
Ugh.
beginning and at the end, it was such a perfect song for that. Was that something that you guys chose afterwards when you guys had already filmed it, or did you guys know that fit so well based on you guys being familiar with the song that you were like, we're gonna make this work. This is the theme. Like sometimes when I'm writing, I have a song and I'm like, that kind of fuels a scene. So I'm asking, which informed which?
You know, the artist is Chapel Roan. She's this amazing young up and coming singer-songwriter.
Brilliant.
She's brilliant. We were listening to another song of hers actually on repeat for a while, and it wasn't quite right with the story that we developed or that Rachel had written. So we went through her catalog, and Bitter, which is the song we used, just kind of hit us, you know, like a brick. And then from there, we really, and this was all before we shot. So from there, we really dove into that, and also hired her to be our composer. So we not only, I mean, all of the music in Posies is entirely done by her. So and it was her first time composing, and she really was just such a joy to work with, but really brought that same kind of feel that's in Bitter and also her other music into the actual score, underlying score, which comes in more towards the end of the film. But Bitter really came before we shot.
Yeah,
and we sent it to everybody. You know, everybody kind of had it in their minds, and I think it really does inform the aesthetic as well.
So the Posies, the flowers under the skin, that kind of happens in the beginning while the TV is on in the background. Can I ask, as far as the practical effects or like the effects of how you did that? Like there's a part where her finger's under her skin. There's lots of different pieces to it. Can you guys tell me a little bit about how that happened? Or did you guys have like a specific artist on set to handle that for you?
We worked with a really amazing special effects artist named Jim Ojala, and also a special effects makeup artist named Jennifer Quinteros. And so they're from LA. They actually flew out to New Orleans with us. We worked with them here before we left to really make these kind of seamless like pockets that would go over Anna's skin, to then make it so she could go underneath. And then with JQ, our makeup artist, she blended it on site and made it kind of really seamless with regards to her skin tone. So
it's very effective, I think. Yeah. Like you really see, especially the leg one, like the head.
Oh God, that's the one. That's the one. Don't say it.
Yeah. It's real gross. We also they did this amazing thing, which we couldn't end up using in the actual film, where we had a full face made of Anna's face. It was painted exactly the way, it looked exactly like her. And then it would rip apart to kind of show what comes at the very end. We couldn't use it in the end just because of certain angles and stuff. And we didn't have a mistake that we made was we didn't have a visual effects supervisor on set. So our VFX were done obviously in post, and there's that as well. But because of this slight little issue with not having someone on set, we had some angles that didn't work. So the face pulling
was cool though.
Was lost.
Well, the end of it, like, oh my God, like the end of it, spoiler alerts for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. Can you tell me how that process happened? Was that done in post? Like I mean, obviously some of it had to have been done in post, VFX wise.
Sure.
Was it just the actress, laying there during the scene and the rest was done over her? Or did she have some practical makeup on as well?
Yeah, so she was awesome and patient. Because, when you do those practical effects, they take forever to apply and all the things that you have to go through. And so we did a bunch of shots of her without it as the transformation happens, of course. And then, we did have two masks for the actual transformation and practical that she had to wear and then act through. So it was pretty crazy. And, it took a long time. So I'm very thankful.
Yeah, it was nuts. And I think in terms of the VFX that came in after, hopefully you can't tell what's what. But if you're looking for it, it's a lot of the stuff is kind of peeling away. What we couldn't do practically with the face pulling apart, you kind of see the skin kind of falling off the face, and then like some lines kind of coming up here. So things like that were all VFX. And we worked with Kevin Van Hook was our VFX supervisor and artist after when in post, and he was fantastic.
I'm assuming he also handled like where all the flowers were coming up and the little bits
Yes.
coming. That was so beautiful. Like
Yay,
it
thank
was
you.
wonderful. I mean, like I had to probably by the second time I watched it, I had to turn when the finger went under the skin. But like the opposite of that was this beautiful, beautiful flowers. I loved it. Is this the first project you guys have worked on together, or have you guys been partners on other projects as well? Because Kate, I think you had done another short film before this.
Yes.
So was
Yeah,
that
that
a joint project too?
it wasn't. No, this is the first time we've done something together. And it came out of basically, there's a feature that Rachel's written called Wires that we're trying to get the funding for currently. And that's with Pamela Adlin and Slambook Inc., her production company. And Pamela also was actually a executive producer on Posies too.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a funny story. So I have a memoir that came out with HarperCollins a few years back called Sister of Darkness. And I actually met Pamela because Sister of Darkness is now with FX and we're working on the television series. And she's like my executive producer and co-creator, along with, I should say, Emma Roberts and her beautiful Bellatrix team. But so Pamela and I are like buds now. We became fast friends, like she's the best. And then she watched Posies once we were finally finished with it. And she was like, I'm obsessed with this. Like, I love it. I'm coming on board. So it's been great.
Yeah, so with them attached as to Wires and also Posies, we're hoping to use it then to get funding, obviously, for the feature. But that was our first time coming together, working together, was to kind of around this Posies Wires world. And it's been great.
Yeah, because we're hoping to direct Wires together as well.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you guys have you guys seem very close. Are you guys partners as far as just writing, or are you guys partners as far as like life?
Life and directing. I do not write. Writing is all her. But yeah, we're engaged.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, I'm also engaged, so I feel yeah. My fiance had proposed to me a couple months ago, so I'm still giddy.
Nice.
But congratulations to you guys. Yeah, I could see you guys just smiling. I'm like, these two look like they are two pieces of the same happy puzzle. That's why I wanted to ask.
Yes.
So, Kate, did you have to kind of teach? It's Rachel, right?
Yeah,
it's not on the
Rachel.
screen. I'm sorry. Kate,
That's
did you
okay.
kind of instruct Rachel and teach her when you guys co-directed this because she's more used to the writing universe? Or is it something where, Rachel, you already knew a little bit about directing with your own studies?
You know, I consider myself still kind of a baby, if I'm honest. You know, I've been on sets, obviously, and watched directors work, and I was there when you did yours too. But you know, I was still nervous because this was my first like ever, and I was like always apologizing to everyone the whole time because I'm like, please be patient. Thank you for your patience. You know, but actually, once you're there and you kind of get into the swing of things, I feel like it comes to you. Like if it's sort of a natural thing for you, I think it comes to you.
Yeah, I mean, we did a lot of prep work together.
Yeah.
In terms of exactly what we wanted to see, what each scene felt like and looked like, and so by the time we were on set, it wasn't a lot of teaching. And I'm also fairly new. My directorial debut was the last short that I did. So we were finding things together, and you know, we've both been in the film industry for a long time. Myself as a producer and Rachel as a writer, so we've been around it forever. But yeah, we were, I mean, it's like the best kind of grad school, just kind of diving in and getting it done, because neither of us went to film school. So,
well, and honestly, that seems to happen so much, especially to other writers who then become showrunners once they sell a show. You know, now they're like, I'm a showrunner, I guess, right? So you just learn how to do everything if you haven't had the joy of going through the process of learning everything, you know, from someone else. So it's just kind of crazy. You throw yourself in it and hope for the best.
So the short film is just over 15 minutes long. I think that includes credits though. So did you guys shoot for 15 minutes? Was that something that you guys shot for based on the length of the script? Or were you guys shooting for that time based on how long you guys know short films usually are as far as the algorithm for that?
I mean, we wanted it to be under 15 minutes, mostly for so many reasons. There's budget, there's availability with talent, in terms of how many days you can shoot, especially when you have something like heavy practical SFX that take 4 hours of your 8-hour day, and then also placement in film festivals, and also just getting people to watch something. It's over 15 minutes. It's really hard to get placed, and it's really hard to get people to actually sit down and watch it. So that was the goal. We did go a little bit over, but like you said, that extra minutes kind of credits. So nobody watches those anyway.
Well, I loved the song, so I stuck through.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
I don't want to keep you guys too long. I'm sure you guys have a lot of other interviews, but is there anything you guys want to plug, social media wise or your other project wise, before I wrap up? I always like to give the guest a little platform to say anything that maybe I didn't ask that you would like to say.
Okay, well, my Instagram is R.H. Stavis. It's just my name. And then you're actually the first person who's heard about this TV show. We haven't talked about it at all. I was given the green light to finally discuss it now. So that's pretty cool.
That's the one with Emma Roberts and
Pamela, yeah, at FX. We've been working on it for almost 2 years now, but it's been secret. So that's kind of fun. But yeah.
Yeah, no, my Instagram handle is k.r.fisher. You can also follow my dog at Bobby Hill Burgers. He's a really good boy.
Yeah, senior Shih Tzu. How can you go wrong?
I'm surprised my dog's not on my lap. If he hears me talking to people, he's usually up here. But Rachel, did you want to mention what was the name of the FX series?
It's based on my book, so it's called Sister of Darkness. That's our TV series we're working on right now, and very excited to share that with everybody.
Can you give like a short tagline or like synopsis for what to expect with that, or is that still NDA?
Well, you don't know this about me, but my other job is that I am Hollywood's premier exorcist. And that's what the book is about. So that is what the show is about.